everybody. Gerry Brown, Groove Don't Lie podcast. Today's guest, bassist Reggie Hamilton. Hamilton is one of those musicians whose name may not always be in the spotlight, but whose playing has helped shape records across jazz, R&B, pop, and beyond. Reggie's based in LA. He's built a career on something rare, the ability to move fluidly between electric bass, upright bass, and keyboard bass. Over the years, Reggie has worked with Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Michael Jackson, Boyz II Men, Seal, Babyface, Barbra Streisand, Toni Braxton, Herbie Hancock, Stanley Clarke, George Duke, and Billy Childs. Formidable. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the great bassist, Mr. Reggie Hamilton, on the Groove Don't Lie podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the Groove Don't Lie podcast is one of the greatest bass players that you'll ever want to know. Los Angeles-based musician, I think originally from New York. The man plays all genres, supports all the stars. He's helped shape recordings from the inside out. His story is about craft, adaptability, and the art of making every song stronger. Reggie, is that about right?
That's much more than I'd say about myself.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. So, let me see, man. Let's kind of get some of the other things out. You know, it's like those, like what, you know, taking us back. What pulled you into this, the low frequencies?
Well, the low frequencies, it's funny. I mean, I got a little toy ukulele when I was a little kid, and I thought I was having fun, you know. And it was a nice sanctuary from whatever my life was at the time, you know, with family and the like. But I was playing guitar for a couple years as a kid, you know. I started taking a lot of stuff in it. We had a guitar lab in New York City. In fact, my teacher from that guitar lab from elementary school is still alive. I keep in touch with this guy, Bob Brillo. Amazing, amazing dude. He'd leave sometimes in the middle of class because he had a gig.
Yeah.
And he'd take his DN go. And so he'd leave one of us in charge, either me or my good friend Gerry, who I've known since we were like 5 years old. You know, we still talk. And so Bob would go to the gigs, but he was always supportive. But I would see, while in school, I'd see all these cats with guitars all the time. I was like, I got to do something different. And as much as I like guitar, it just didn't have the same appeal as bass. Bass is foundation, like from on an emotional level, you know. It's like drumming drums are the original communications, and bass is like the original support animal. You know, they go hand in hand. You know, like I told you, we used to talk years ago. I was like, I see the drummer as the guy riding the covered wagon, and I see the bass player as the guy with the shotgun shooting at the wolves that are trying to attack the wagon.
I love that analogy, man.
Yeah. About 10 years old, and everybody and their mother is playing guitar. And so I switched to bass. And my mom kind of her, even though she didn't really know anything about it. She went and bought me a bass. They ripped her off at the shop, and they sold her a broken Gibson EBO, and then they gave her this Chinese knockoff to replace it. You know, so they kind of ripped her off. A 12 watt bass amp. My phone is louder than my bass amp was back in the day. No,
Yeah,
but I didn't know.
I'm sorry I didn't know. There should be a rim shot there.
Yeah, there should be bucket of fish. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. I mean, everybody was playing guitar, and I wanted to do something different, and it just appealed to me better. The bass, Verdine White and Peter Cetera at the time, and Al McKibben, even though I didn't know who he was. Who's this cat grooving on The Odd Couple or on the Batman TV show? You know, that appealed to me, playing on records and movies, and just that was it. That was cool. TV shows, Carol Burnett or Red Skelton, or a Dean Martin show or Jack Benny, or you know what I mean? Who was playing the bass parts for all that stuff? Just thought it was cool.
Yeah. There's something to be said about those shows that you mentioned and how really, I mean, it was a vibe that whatever the wattage was of your television, but there was a vibe and how
Huge
that,
vibe.
and it really affected you. It was triggering. What was good,
Absolutely.
what would happen eventually in your journey,
Yeah.
you
So
know?
I mean, I wanted to be successful, not famous, you know. And so these guys were mysterious. They made music, did their gig, and they could walk down the street without a problem. Because you had the Jimmy when I was a kid. There was a Jimi Hendrix Experience. I'm a little guy seeing that stuff, or New Birth, or Earth, Wind, Fire, BT Express, Led Zeppelin. The Who, Cream. Saw all that stuff, and it's exotic and it's beautiful, and they're really talented. And they got hip clothes and whatnot, but they have no life. It's stressful. And walking into a room, laying down a track and leaving, yeah, you get to hear it on the radio. You walk by, and I'm comfortable enough with the people that I was in the room with, knowing that I did it. Doesn't have to be like the little girl in like Poughkeepsie, Indiana. If that's even a city, but you know,
Well, Indiana, New York, they're kind of close. It's close enough.
they're kind of close. They're kind of close. You know. I know there's a Poughkeepsie, New York, but there might be a Poughkeepsie, Indiana. Never know. There's Paris.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what drew me. Long way around. That's what got me to that point. All of that.
So what or when did you realize that from what you've said, when did you realize that I've got some goods? I'm appreciative of what I'm hearing. I have I have the discipline. I have the non-complacency.
Hmm.
I want to do this. So when do you remember, like, when it came across, like, this is a serious career?
I think once I moved to Atlantic City, I was kind of in New York by myself for a little bit. My mom had moved, and I didn't talk to my pop. Um, So I moved back with my mom to Atlantic City around like the day before my 15th birthday. And I was starting to shed and play and do gigs in New York, before that with our little band, and then trying to play with other people, which was cool. Um, being in like in Jamaica, Queens, and I met a wonderful group of guys. We were young and playing, and then I was doing gigs with some adults. But when I moved to Atlantic City, I started working almost right away. You know, as far as work, doing like I'm in high school and I'm playing 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week. With a jazz band here, a swing band here, a funk band here, playing parties with, playing prog rock parties with other cats, like all different types of stuff.
Beautiful, man. I mean, yeah, you're wearing the hats at a young age.
Right? Yeah,
I mean, but so informative, just
because I mean,
that
I
high
I
school.
liked all.
Yeah.
Yeah, high school was something because they're making my reading wasn't great, and I mean, in my mind, it's still I'm still a work in progress. I'm always a work in progress. I have moments of brilliance and moments of
Like, oh my God. Yeah.
like, what is that? Is that a whole note? What is that? You know,
Here, here.
yeah,
Yes.
I'm honest about it. It is what it is. But yeah, there I was. It was at first I thought I had gone back to the dark ages, but I met this wonderful band director, this guy named Joe Brown. In New York in high school I had a great band director, and these cats didn't know each other, and they went to the same college, and they both brass players, same age, which I thought was funny. This guy
Wow.
Jabron Tyler was a trombone player in New York, and he was great, great, a great, really good brother. But Joe Brown, I mean, we still talk fairly regularly, Joe and I call him JB, back, but he was making me read more. And he was during the day, they would loan me out to different high schools to play bass for different high school bands.
They loan you out.
Yeah, they'd loan me out. So I would play with like Atlantic City High School Jazz Band and then play with a different high school jazz band because their bass players couldn't read or play or swing. You know, at least I understood swing back then. Maybe not harmony so much, but I knew how to swing. So I would, and I could read through their charts. So I'd be playing with, I think I played with like 3 or 4 different high school bands while I was in Atlantic City High. And then at night I was playing in little clubs and subbing. I think, yeah, around 15, I was subbing for Gary Haas, a great bass player in New York. I met this cat, Harold Barney, that used to play with Donald Byrd. And I was playing with Raphael. No, no, no. That was with um, another Caribbean artist. I was subbing. I was 15 playing at like one of the casinos. You know, I could go in. I just couldn't sit at the bar because the ABC would be all on you. Wendell Stewart was his name. You know, really bad dude. But that's with all that going on. That's when I knew, okay, I can do this. Your parents look at you like you're crazy. Like, especially they said, no, man, you work in the factory, or you'll be a doctor, or an attorney, or something of some dimension. But that wasn't my calling. But that's when I knew. It's like, yeah, I could do this. By this time I'm 16, 17, I'm like playing 6 nights a week. I barely have enough time to sleep. I'm cutting classes at school. And remember one track coach said, "Man, I'm gonna fail you." I was like, "Man, you got to do what you got to do. I got a gig. I got to go to work. You're not paying my bills."
There's something to, for me, that brings back, you know, the fond memories of cutting class. But
Yeah.
but there was a positive intention.
Yes, right. It's not just
And
that it's something
yeah,
stupid.
yeah, not for something stupid.
Yeah.
I used to,
Sister smoking cut glass. What?
man, I used to cut classes and go up to the Uptown Theater and seeing all the
Yeah.
R&B shows and stuff like that, man. And that was,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to school. I'm going to school.
That's
Just not,
real school.
just not that. I'm going to that
Yeah,
school.
right. That's school. That's real school.
That's real school. And so, yeah, to cut in the class, but I had intentions. Yeah, I just barely got out of high school, but I got out.
Yeah. Same. Yeah, right. It's like I actually left a week before I was supposed to graduate and I blew off all my finals. But you needed like 95 credits to graduate, and I had 195. And I always stayed just comfortably in the middle. I walked out during half of my SATs. I still scored like decently. I scored in the middle. I was like, that's enough. You know, I don't need to rack my brain.
I'm
And
not,
yeah, it's not this useless thing, you know. But I remember this one teacher, God rest her soul, Alice Cash, just one of the best English teachers. She's like, man, I should have failed your ass. But you had a, she said it just like that. She wanted to hit me in the back of the head too. She was a good sister, really righteous.
funny the things that we remember,
Oh yeah,
and the people in our journey, but it's
yeah, yeah. She was.
very effective.
I
So,
think more than any other teacher, she made me see words and lyrics and meaning. So she was actually quite effective in helping me be who I am as to how I play ballads.
so ver-
Good.
the timing again, perfect because I was going to, and I will ask you in your approach of playing for, what is your approach for playing a singer versus something more improvisational or setting?
Well, for supporting a singer, it's supporting the lyric and the melody, of course, right? Then there's the nature of the singer himself or herself, as whatever the case may be. You know, so with regards to ballads, with regard to ballads, I need to know the lyric. Like all the years that I worked with Babyface, if I was playing on a tune that had no melody, I'd ask him to sing me the melody and tell me what the lyric was, so I could know what I'm working with and know how to weave in between, know what lines to support, um, and still maintain a solid groove. So you're not thinking about the groove, but feeling the groove, and you're thinking about what's being said. You're thinking about what's being said, but you're feeling the groove at the same time. That's a huge one for me. I'm not trying to show, oh, look at these cool licks that I can play. Notice, ha, I'm over here. You know, that shit crazy. Um, the real big thing is, and almost in an orchestral mindset. So if you're a modern day Beethoven or modern day Bach or modern day Mozart, what would you do? I mean, if you're reading the magic flute, you're not writing all this ridiculous stuff on top of the libretto, or if you're writing Barbara Sevilla or what have you, you're supporting it. It's clever, but you're still supporting it.
Foundational.
Absolutely, without question, and tonally as well as rhythmically, as well as emotional. Tonally, tonal foundation is huge because you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. Right.
Right,
So tone wise, what I'm doing underneath matters as much as what I,
right.
so that it's not obtrusive, it's not offensive. I was doing a session with an engineer the other day, and he was boosting frequencies that I know hurts people's ears because that's what he thinks he should do with every bass. I'm like, not that bass, but that's That's another thing. That's a whole nother thing.
Right.
Unlearning some stuff, you know, which a lot of people have to do to get stuck in ideals and stuck on something that they saw in Jeopardy. I don't know. It's just it is what it is. But back to what you're asking, that's how I approach it. And male singers are definitely different than female singers as far as what I'm dealing with tonally. Because in the bass, 400 frequency, about 400 cycles, a good male singer is right there. And but that's a great bass sound too. So I learned from Danny Leake.
God rest his soul, Danny Leake.
What a
A
awesome,
brilliant brother, man.
absolutely, absolutely brilliant. You know. But I learned frequencies from him in that regard. I mean, I learned a lot from Stanley, a lot, a lot. But the things that I learned about the human voice and playing, I learned from Danny Leake, and that was a big deal.
By the way, everybody, Danny Leake, he was a great, great, fabulous engineer. This man knew
Recording
about frequencies. So,
and space, great recording engineer, great mix engineer, great mastering engineer. It's unusual to have the trifecta. He had all that in spades.
uh, so when I'm just curious, just checking with you since you mentioned Danny Leake. When did you work with Danny Leake?
I first worked with him
What
in 19,
circumstances?
1990. I was on the road with Johnny Gill, and Danny was doing front of house. That's when I first met him. It was 1990, and he was introduced me to me by a guy that worked at Motown, a really bright cat named Vaughn Halyard.
I know
That's
that
when
name. I know that name.
yeah,
Yeah.
Vaughn was programming synclavier. He taught me to program synclavier. Um, gosh, I forgot I did that. um, yeah, he was. That's how I met Danny, and we used to hang, and we talked about a bunch of stuff. We talked about his background in the military, and
Crazy background. Crazy.
he, which the guys that really did it don't discuss very much of it, and he didn't discuss very
No,
much of
no. But what he did tell
it.
you,
His
you,
hair raising.
yeah, yeah, yeah. From what he told you, it's like you connect. Oh, it's easy to connect the dots, and
Yeah, and it's
it's very
amazing that he
easy
could.
to visualize.
Yeah, it's very easy to visualize. It's amazing that he could sleep at night because that's a lot. That's a lot to count. You know,
And,
but brilliant cat, wonderful human being. Absolutely,
and I met him a couple of years later when he got with Stevie, and then
Stevie.
he was doing front of house, and it's like
Yeah, and he mixed Bobby Lau's Rhythm Stories record and engineered it. He mastered my record. Yeah, he was just a Renaissance man kind of cat because
Renaissance man,
he did a whole bunch of other stuff.
Renaissance man.
Good brother, really good brother. Yeah.
Just curious to know, since we just mentioned Danny Leake and how impactful this man was in music, you know, and also in life, and just how, from what you knew about him and how he was going through life.
Yeah.
So, but engineers, they seem, engineers can
Yeah,
big
it's
enough flip you, or they could like
but they can really bring you down.
bring you down. Yes.
Yeah, they can be good mushrooms or bad mushrooms.
Ah, book of the face.
Yeah, I know some great ones. I know some tremendous ones, and I have known some tremendous ones. There's a lot of it. What in men of a certain age, more years behind us, in front of us, seen some mentors that have gone the way of the dodo. So there are some really great ones that really helped. I learned a lot from so many.
Question: what do you consider makes and great bass parts? And in whatever application, as you mentioned, from the magic flute or anything like that, or just working with you kind of touched on it, with Babyface or any of the people that you've worked with.
I mean, that's an interesting question because it can vary. Sometimes a great bass part's really complicated, but how it sits. Thinking of that, I was thinking about it's a bass melody, but it's a bass part too. It's a Jeff Berlin tune, Joe Frazier. It's just funky, killer part, or Stanley's Day Ride, or My Girl. So it's enough that it's not trying to, because Jeff's, it's flashy, but it's not trying to be flashy in an odd sort of way. It's just, it's Joe Frazier. It's just coming at you. You know, uh, you know what I mean?
Just like the
It's not
person,
like I,
he's
yeah,
coming
just
for
like
you.
it's a train coming at you, and you got to deal with this train. You know, and you're flesh and blood. You're not wearing anything. It's just the train. You're not inside of another train. You're not in an 18 wheeler. You're just standing in
You
this train
there.
coming in. You know, um, or like Day Ride. You and Stanley on Day Ride. You know, that's just boom. That's still a great, that's a great, it's a melody and a great bass line. My Girl, it's after that first statement, it's just boom, 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 but everybody can sing it. Um, it's it never gets in the way of the melody. It supports the melody in the best possible way. You know, one that I love, but is just a little bit beyond is God rest his soul, Dion Estes. When he was 18, he played in this band called Brainstorm, and there's this tune called On Our Way Home. Jerry Peters did the arrangement.
Oh.
It is chock full of everything. It is like
Chock full of
telling you,
everything.
come on, you have to listen to it because every possible space is filled, and it goes off without a hitch. But there's just a little bit of it that's unsettling because there's so much going on. Was a disciple person like Byron Miller, um, like Tony Newton,
Tony
um,
Newton. Mm.
Tony Newton, because Tony Newton was Jameson's sub, which I did not know. Yeah,
Wow.
Tony Newton played with Tony Williams' Lifetime, and he's on some of the recordings when they would do two bass stuff. There's a great interview online about Tony Newton. He's doing two bass stuff. Jamerson would have him play the high bass parts, while Jamerson played the low bass. So he's on some of the Motown tracks too, which yeah, which is fascinating. You know. But you never know. I have there's some great bass parts that are super complicated that are super simple. I mean, that's Foster playing synth bass on "We Can Work It Out," I believe. It's Foster or Greg filling gains. I think it's Foster. You know, Foster's a ridiculously bad synth bass player, which a lot of people don't give credit for. Or Stevie's synth bass stuff. Some of whew, it's just cold. It doesn't get in the way of the song though.
It doesn't get in the true. And
Larry
Nate
Graham's
and
Mr.
Nate
Writer.
and
Nate,
Nate Watts can, man. Yeah, he
he he knows where all the bodies are buried. Of all the gigs that I don't want, that one is high on the list because that's a terrifying job. working with a cat that's written so many songs. Because was it for every song that Stevie's released, there's four you haven't heard or 20 you haven't heard, something like that. And he's got the 12 different song formulas.
Is it?
So that he
Yeah,
throw out at any time.
he's got somewhere between 9 and 12 systems. I think
Right.
that's what
I think
Nate
it's like
said.
it's 12 systems. And then since there's 12 keys, there's 144 possible combinations that are going to happen that you have to figure out within the first 3 seconds.
And I must tell you,
Think of that.
I know digging that, but I just got to add to what you just said. There were times, okay, this is with Stevie. So I'm thinking it's like when I got the gig, well,
Yeah.
for the audition, I heard from Milton Hardaway.
Hmm.
Milton tells me, okay, you got to go by, come by the studio. This is like a month. So yeah, Stevie, his body of work. So it's like I'm listening to stuff. And so they tell me, he's like, oh, we want you to be there at 12. And I said, like 12 noon? They said, oh, no, 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 no. No, like 12 at midnight. And
Drove at midnight. Yeah.
and I get there at 11:30. Well, Stevie doesn't come into three.
Right.
What do you?
At least they finally worked that out.
So Nate comes
We
there with
finally
him.
worked that out.
Yeah, so Nate gets there with him, and in a nutshell, there was not one song of his that we played. It was he wanted to see how well I could follow him,
Right.
and
Right.
and so it's like this is the person who's buried the bodies, and the bass player is the one who knows where the bodies are buried.
Well, bodies are buried. He knows where everything buried.
And there would be gigs where all of a sudden Stevie would start playing something, and then Nate's giving me a cue. It's like come in, and it's like I'm coming in. And then I start, man, what song is this? What song? He says,
He's like, I don't know. Yeah. And but he's playing it
but he's
like
playing it.
he's right, like he's MIDI to Stevie. Like he's MIDI to Stevie. It's filling games. Greg called me to do the Songs of Key of Life tour to conduct for a little bit when the kids were being born. But he said, there's this one synth bass part you'll have to play. And I found out later I didn't have to play synth bass, which made me mad because this one part I was like, I can't quite make it groove. So I backed out because I didn't want to mess up, you know. And you don't want to mess up songs. I remember buying that vinyl. I don't want to mess that up because that's deep, you know. But I should have called Nate about it and asked him. That that's a hard ass chair. That's a hard. I mean, I've subbed for Stanley, and that's saying something. Subbing for Nate, I have a couple of friends that have subbed for Nate, and they crashed and burned like I don't have the words for it. I'm like, channel the type of me, and I'll have a pair on me. I'll jump into a situation, but not that one. Not that. Heck, I played Summer Song with India Arie one time and playing all the synth bass stuff. I was like, this is brilliant. That's a brilliant bass part that's busy, that doesn't get in the way, and it's just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, he's as far as writing bass parts that don't mess you up, but are still happening, he's got to be in the top three. In the top three.
I want to ask you just a little sidebar. Speaking about Stevie, and this is also about Detroit. And I'm curious, do you know, you know, uh, James Jamerson, but Ron Carter, they're from Detroit. I wonder,
I didn't know Ron was from Detroit.
I think Ron is from Detroit. So I'm curious to know
So is Alma
if they ever did
cross
they ever
paths?
did
They probably did when you think about it, because Jamerson was playing upright around town.
and he's on a upright on a lot of those Motown sessions.
A lot of them.
A lot of
A lot. He is a well-recorded cat. Yeah, I would imagine that they had met, that they had run across each other. I don't know which one is older. I think Jamerson is probably was older than Ron.
right. Yeah, but by the way, the maestro just celebrated his, I think, 89th birthday.
Yeah, 89 years old and still playing.
Yeah, I think they did a week at the Blue Note or something like that. Anyway, incredible.
Always, yeah, clean, pocket square.
Like the Board of
Mr.
Health,
Garner.
man.
Yeah, man. Cleaner than. Cleaner than.
So I want to ask you, what of the numerous sessions that you've done, are there any sessions that changed the way that you think about your role as a bassist? Or just something, a
It
session that
happened,
was memorable? Just like, wow.
yeah. Well, there's some good memory. Well, us with David Lynch. I mean, talk about absolute freedom
Us,
to do
yeah.
all the stuff I did as a kid with my buddy Lucci and Paul Goldberg and Bob Sterling. We would do some really neat, crazy stuff. I mean, I got to do headphone feedback with David Lynch. I never get to do that on a record with my bass.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you may not know that Reggie and I, we performed
And
in the
recorded.
studio, recorded. How many things did we do?
I don't know. I mean,
David Lynch?
yeah, we did. Because we were the West Coast band. I know. Was it Buster and Grady Tate were the East Coast band?
I think so.
Right. So we were the West Coast band. So we did Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me, part of it. We did part of Julie Crew.
Yes.
We did some commercials, and we did others, like other movies, other stuff. And then he put out a record of our stuff. And then you and I went to Paris with him.
We did a live gig at the Olympia.
Did a live gig at the Olympia. That's right. With Blue Bob.
Blue Bob.
Which is wholly different from the other music we're playing.
Way different.
Wholly different. Yeah, at the time you and I were working with David, I think we were also touring with Stanley and George Howard and Mickey Howard.
Yes.
And then you were doing and you and I were playing straight ahead gigs together, which I used to love.
Was Billy Childs in there?
I think we did some stuff with Billy. We did some stuff with Billy, some stuff with Sonny, and then we played with that one David Mamet's brother, Bob.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And with Pat Kelly on guitar.
Yes.
It's still in there, folks.
It's still in there.
It's rolling around like marbles, but it's in there.
Ladies and gentlemen, Reggie Hamilton and I have some serious history, man. Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed Reggie Hamilton. A lot of wisdom my man has passed on. And there's more coming in episode number 2. So stay tuned. Groove don't lie.